Well, good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us at AAUW tonight to learn a little bit about advocacy during COVID-19, as well as what you can be doing to advocate on behalf of yourself and others virtually anywhere and anytime. I'm Kim Churches. I'm the CEO of AAUW, and my preferred pronouns are she, her, and hers. During these incredibly challenging times, we at AAUW are continuing to work harder than ever before, to make sure that we can ensure equity for all humans, every single one in the United States and beyond, as we know so many are facing economic insecurity already. Typically at this time of year, we mark the annual Equal Pay Day. And that's the time when women symbolically catch up to men's average earnings from the previous year. But this year, during COVID-19, when we know this is such a difficult time that we're all struggling with new norms, we're broadening our view on Equal Pay Day on how this pandemic is exacerbating our nation's economic inequities. Low-wage workers, 54% of whom are women, are bearing the brunt of the coronavirus pandemic as they lose jobs by the millions. Those who've been working part-time, again, predominantly women, often don't even have basic employee benefits. The nation's lack of paid sick and family leave endangers both the physical and economic well-being of Americans. And the burden of student debt, 2/3 of which is held by women, is particularly scary for those who are now unemployed. Tonight, we're going to learn together how we can make our voices heard to protect and ensure our society is inclusive and equitable for all. Now, a few housekeeping items. One, you might hear kids laughing or crying in the background. We're all working from home in this new normal. You might see my cat jump up here with me or hear one of my dogs bark. So bear with us, because working virtually like this is new for all of us, including all of us here at AAUW. Now, a few other things. If you're not accustomed to using Zoom now, please do use the chat feature, and we'll go over as many ideas and questions you have as we can before we end this evening's presentation. All you need to do is go to the bottom of your Zoom screen and click on the chat button, and then just type right into the box your ideas. You will be on mute because we have such a large volume of people joining us, but I promise you we'll get to as many of your ideas, comments, and questions as we can tonight. Next slide, please. This program tonight is a part of our brand new equity network at AAUW, which is aimed to build a community, a network of humans who care about inclusion and equity on our campuses, in our workplaces, and in society. The Equity Network will be a gathering space to have discussions on the issues that matter most to you, a place for learning and access to empower and advance your voice. Together, we can change the culture and conversation to ensure women's economic security and equal opportunities for women and girls in education and leadership through our research, education, and advocacy. By becoming a part of the Equity Network, you'll help move just from simple conversation to lasting change and impact. I want to thank you so much for joining us during this unprecedented time that we're all facing together. Let me now turn it over to my colleague, Nakia McFarland, who will be helping tonight to moderate all of your comments and questions, ideas, and keep us moving as we learn together how to advocate on behalf of all of us. Nakia, over to you.
Thank you, Kim. I'm Nakia, the Engagement Associate for AAUW. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. First, I want to thank you all for making the time to join us today. I know this is a difficult time for everyone, and we're all getting used to a new time in the history of our country. And hopefully this webinar will help us maneuver through some of these difficult times and be able to extend a hand to our neighbors and be better allies. So again, I'm glad that you're all able to make it. We won't be using the entire hour and a half that was in the invitation. We understand that folks are really busy. It's still a weekday, and so hopefully we can get as much as the information that we're all here for within about an hour of time. So just to go over a couple of technicalities for this webinar, you can adjust your screen so that you can see both what is being shared as well as folks that are talking. You can, by just simply moving your cursor to the gallery in the far right corner of your screen. That way you can switch between what's being shared and the person who is speaking. If you have any questions that is related to the content, related to the slides and what our presenters will be talking about, please direct those questions to the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. If you have any technical questions or are experiencing any technical difficulties that we can help you with, please direct those questions to the chat box, and either myself or one of our panelists will be able to reach out to you and try to help you with that. With that, I'm going to turn over this presentation to my colleague, Kate. And I hope you all enjoy this webinar and get everything that you need to be better allies and better friends and better neighbors.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Nakia. And if we can go to the next slide. My name is Kate Nielsen. I prefer she, her, hers. I'm the Director of Public Policy and Legal Advocacy here at AAUW, and I'm so excited to be with you all tonight. Thank you for joining and taking the time to be with us. So I'm briefly going to tell you about tonight's agenda, cover a couple points, and then I'll turn it over to my colleague, Robin. I'd like to walk you through our gender policy agenda for 2020, just to set some context about the issues that we're advocating for and that we encourage you to take on over the course of the year. Then I'm just going to touch on the importance of grassroots advocacy and turn it over to Robin to talk through the training, going over creative advocacy, media advocacy, how to lobby your elected officials, and then touch on get out the vote and voter education. I'll wrap up with a quick mention of our resources, and then we'll open it up to questions. From there, we'll wrap it up and get you on to the rest of your evening. So thank you so much for joining us. If we can go to the next slide, please. So since its first meeting in 1881, AAUW has been a catalyst for change. Together, through our coordinated and strategic advocacy, we've enacted invaluable legislation at the federal, state, and local levels. But as proud as I am of that history, it's time to look to the future because our rights are under attack and it's up to us to stop it. This administration is repeatedly striving, and often succeeding, in rolling back our fundamental rights. And it's not just the administration. Congress has been largely unsuccessful in enacting any good policy recently, and the courts are not only undoing important protections, but they're being packed with judges who are likely to continue this trend for a generation. Here at AAUW, we're saying that's enough. We're reclaiming our rights and taking action to secure them. And this work is more important now than ever. That's why we released the 2020 Gender Policy Agenda to focus in on the key issues for this important election year. Just in case you're on a phone or having trouble reading this, I'm just going to quickly go through this so that you can provide some context to know what we're talking about tonight. We have three main buckets in our gender policy agenda. Within economic security, 6 main policy areas: equal pay, paid leave, stopping workplace harassment, raising the minimum wage, retirement security, and protecting pregnant workers. Within our education bucket, we have strengthening Title IX, working to eliminate or alleviate at least student debt, and STEM education and careers. Then within our foundational rights bucket, we're focusing on voting rights, healthcare, and the Equal Rights Amendment. We released this blueprint before the current COVID-19 pandemic, but I think virtually every issue is still timely and relevant. The pandemic has opened our eyes or brought to the forefront what we already knew, that many Americans experience massive economic insecurity. Right now, everyone needs access to paid leave. We need debt to be forgiven. We need childcare. We need retirement security. We need healthcare, and we need equal pay. We also need to make sure that we can vote in our crucial primary and general elections this year. And we need to make sure our rights are not rolled back in the face of this national and international crisis. Tonight, we're going to talk about how to make progress on these important issues and move the ball forward. As we go through our exercise tonight, I encourage you to pick one of these issues to focus on. It'll help you tailor your advocacy and your messages. So let's talk about the role that you can play as individuals and how we can harness our collective power to make change. Next slide. Let's begin with a little context about why we're here in the first place and why this is important. Grassroots are the people power. They're the constituents of elected officials who join together to advocate in support of a position. As the constituents of elected officials, you have immense influence over those folks. It's because of that elected part. As voters, you're the ones that elected those officials to the roles, and it's your approval, your vote, that they need to keep the job. Keep in mind, you're their boss. So by being a vocal, informed advocate, you can shape policy at the federal, state, and local levels. Keep in mind that direct constituent interactions have more influence on lawmakers' decisions than any other advocacy strategy. We know that Congress places a high value on groups and citizens who have built relationships with their legislators and their staff. So if you can be strategic and do advocacy well or better than others, you will have more influence. And luckily, you have the ability to enhance your advocacy skills to influence elected officials. And that's what we're going to teach you how to do tonight. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Robin.
Thank you, Kate. Hello, everyone. My name is Robin. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the Grassroots Advocacy Manager at AAUW. I'm very excited that so many of you have joined us tonight, so let's dive in. I'm going to cover 3 advocacy tactics tonight. Like she said, creative advocacy, media advocacy, and lobbying elected officials. We're going to pause midway through a few of them for some conversation. So again, feel free to use the Q&A function with questions along the way, and our staff will share them. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, so let's start by talking about how you can use events and opportunities to advance your policy agenda through creative means. Of course, some ways of leveraging your power are more effective than others, and this is my personal favorite. Tremaine, can you go forward 2 slides? There we go. All right, so hosting a virtual roundtable. A public roundtable can be a great way to increase visibility for your cause, generate media coverage, and raise awareness about a policy issue. We've focused on in-person rallies historically, but this truly can take place almost anywhere, and that includes online. So what this could look like is a number of panelists like tonight on screen discussing, say, the real-time policy work on paid leave during the COVID-19 pandemic. There is a lot of work happening right now, and creating a format to communicate it is critical. Whether it's a one-way video of you and speakers educating a digital crowd, or expanding it to a multi-way roundtable discussion, including participants, there is a lot of opportunity for community engagement. Here we have 6 tips. Keep in mind, tips in one area likely apply to many digital tactics we'll talk about tonight, so they're all helpful to learn. First one is accessibility. It seems straightforward, but some folks might be so comfortable with digital platforms that they don't remember just how tricky it was to learn them to begin with. Tip 2 is talking with speakers directly to make sure that everyone understands the general flow of order and how to use the platform beforehand, so there isn't crosstalk or the horror, some background noise when everyone's speaking. Tip 3, keep your message focused. Especially with the obstacles we're currently navigating, it can be easy to run off topic and overcomplicate your discussion. Tip 4 is to work in a coalition. This particularly helps if your policy topic has many facets that you want to amplify without complicating your messaging. And tip 5, give the media a heads up. Not everyone will be able to make it, even online, so the media broadens your reach. Also, it's kind of cool to be on the news, right? And then finally, tip 6 that you will hear repeated many times tonight: follow up with your attendees and participants. Not Keeping in touch will keep your momentum going when folks are fired up about something, and you don't want them to come down from that excitement and forget what they learned. I also want you to keep in mind that advocacy doesn't just mean talking to your legislators. Advocacy includes talking to your family, friends, housemates, neighbors. All advocacy is important. Next slide, please. So with COVID-19 halting all of the standard in-person engagement activities we're used to, we have an opportunity to truly embrace the creative part of advocacy. Digital events are popping up where you can recruit potential allies and inform them about your policy issue. I personally have been seeing a lot of musicians and artists who are posting opportunities to watch their concerts online or join art lessons. There are yoga and workout sessions that have moved to Zoom and other platforms, virtual book clubs, and other ways that small businesses are interacting with their normal base. So we have some tips and tricks for a successful event here. Digital social events can look like a lot of things, but I'm going to stick with one example, the musicians and concerts, mostly because I also don't do yoga. So the first one, identify your event. Do you have any connections or see any events happening with the examples I gave or others that are popping up online? Tip 2, identify which topic would be relevant for that event and the general audience that it probably attracts. A lot of musicians are active advocates and commonly supporting general get out the vote efforts and personally important policy issues. Which brings me to 3, ask them. Sometimes you won't know who would be interested in supporting your policy issue until you ask. Tip 4, make your action asks accessible to the audience, meaning be prepared with links to send them while you're speaking or immediately afterwards for immediate direct action. 5, advertising on social media can be a lot of fun, so you can really get into it. You might learn some new ways to advertise now that we're in a digital time. 6, giveaways are a common thing for creative events, and since we are in a time where it can be sensitive to approach small and local businesses, I would recommend having one entity sponsor a giveaway and then still source it from a local business, so everyone is supported, and you then would have 2 bases that you're breaking into for promotion. And then finally, as always, follow up. Next slide, please. Next, I'll go over 2 key media advocacy techniques. Working with the media provides a rewarding and cost-effective tool for promoting your policy priorities and events. Your efforts can lead to identifying new advocates, accessing key stakeholders and decision makers, and increasing the visibility in your community. Next slide. First, we have writing a letter to the editor or an op-ed. They are often lumped together, but there are important differences between them. A letter to the editor, or LTE, is usually more timely, direct, and succinct, while op-eds are wide-ranging, long-form, and include a unique perspective or new information. So the tips here are, first, know your guidelines. Second one, pick a timely topic and find a local angle. For example, right now, I strongly urge everyone to consider writing a letter to the editor on Equal Pay Day. It's next Tuesday, March 31st, and it marks the date where the comparison of all women to all men reach equal pay. It's a timely LTE, and I would also suggest you link it to the impact of COVID-19. With 3, finding the local angle to also add to that. If you work or live in the District of Columbia, maybe consider including DC statehood as another facet. The Senate voted just last night to give $1.25 billion to each state, but only $500 million to DC, even though we pay more in taxes than 22 other states and have a larger population than at least 2. So just a thought. Tip 4, assume nothing. Do not assume that your readers are informed on this topic. I originally had my previous point end with just consider adding DC statehood, and my colleague Kate helpfully reminded me to follow my own advice here and give some context for everyone participating tonight. So you want to give concise but informative background before plunging into your main issue. 5, avoid form letters. Do not send the same letter to 2 competing papers in the same circulation area. 6, close with a call to action. You could encourage your elected official to pass legislation. That's a good one. But in general, you should tailor that call to the topic you're writing about. I also want to tell you, you could get really creative with this. You could throw a party digitally on Zoom, on WhatsApp, on whatever platform you're using, gather friends and advocates to virtually learn about your issue and write a letter to the local paper. And you can team up on op-eds. Having a unique perspective on a unique issue is helpful, but if you want to add that extra oomph and impact, inviting someone else from your coalition can be useful because you can have shared bylines. Next slide, please. All right, using social media effectively. So I want everyone to look on your Zoom screen. You can hover over on your computer, on your video box, like your specific area for the more button, or if you're on a phone, it's under the participants, and you can see the raised hand option. Now here's my question. Raise your hand if you use social media today. I'm going to, in the meantime, assume that everyone uses it daily, but Nakia, what are you seeing?
So it looks like we have about 60 of our attendees who use social media regularly.
Okay, awesome, it worked. So this is a great example of wanting to interact with your virtual audience and how, in this case, yay, successful, but also it could be clunky and unsuccessful and weird. So how successful it can be, especially when you're unsure of just how competent your audience is with your chosen platform. So practice, practice, practice. And this brings me to tip 1, choose the right platform. Who is your audience? Are you reaching out to members of Congress or your peers, family, etc.? I can tell you when I reach out to elected officials, Twitter is where they or their staff are active. But if I'm trying to reach out to my aunts and uncles, I know Facebook is their place, or my peers, I go to Instagram, which brings me to tonight, planning this webinar. I realized that we really need someone out there to come up with a catchy TikTok for get out the vote efforts. So if you come up with an idea, please contact me. Tip number 2, you can monitor or spark the conversation. See what's trending, be up to date, and if your topic isn't at the top, work to get it there. 3, use hooks. Hot topics are a great way to plug into other issues. Check to see which hashtags that are trending might fit into your policy topic. A few days ago, National Puppy Day turned into a national conversation on the dire impact that COVID-19 was having on animal shelters and rescues. You can pivot something catchy and cute and popular to your benefit. And then 4, set some measurable goals. It's important to set expectations for yourself, and having goals of how many shares, retweets, comments that you are aiming for will help you gauge later if it was a successful tool for engagement to repeat, or if you need more work or you need to scrap it and try something else. So I want to pause here. What are some things that are trending right now or upcoming hooks you're looking to use online? Nakia, do you want to chime in with the Q&A so far? I'm gonna open this chat and Q&A section.
I think we're good if you want to move forward, Robin.
Awesome. Next slide, please. Lobbying of elected officials. There are many different elements to lobbying, but tonight we're going to cover the 3 main ways that you can communicate with your elected official: emails, calls, and virtual meetings. That's also the order of impact. Emails, while important, are the least effective, and meetings are the most impactful. Next slide. So emailing, great place to start. The ground floor of advocacy, so to speak, is emailing your legislator. This is a way to communicate with elected officials and tell them your opinion. This is a place where AAUW can really help you out with your advocacy. We're not the boy who cries wolf. We come to you when we know that your voice can be impactful and provide you with salient messages through our 2-minute activist alerts. These alerts include talking points and tactics that we know to be strategic. Forms can be customized. You can add anecdotes, personal information, community impact. You can also send your own email letting your elected official know how you feel about something, but being a part of a coordinated effort like our 2-Minute Activist Network can elevate an issue that you care about. Next slide. All right, 2, making a phone call. So one step up from emailing in the hierarchy of advocacy. I know most folks are not fans of phone calls these days, but a new perk that I've learned very, very recently is that you don't have to worry about what your face is doing on a video when you're on the phone call, like I've been anxious about this entire webinar. So just a thought. We have a few tips here. 1 and 2, call your representative and use these very magical words. I'm a constituent. Then 3, plan your script. And you know what you already have if you did step 1? You have an email. You could just read your email. And then 4, remember that your call counts. Offices keep records of calls, and even if you only leave a message, it really does count. You want to offer your perspective, but you also want to show a groundswell of support or opposition to your elected official on your issue. This is especially important when it's a time-sensitive issue, and it's useful evidence for the press that they can reference when covering the issue. For example, when Betsy DeVos was being considered for her cabinet position, AAUW had a phone call initiative that was so successful that staffers were reading the script back to callers. They knew it so well already. Next slide, please. Okay, and final one, the gold standard for advocates, meeting in person. We can't do that right now, so switch it to virtual, but regular interaction and ongoing relationships with staff are critical to staying on the top of their lists. You can request a visit by looking up a scheduler's email on the legislator's website or by calling the district office. Make sure the scheduler knows your constituent. And preparing for your televisit, we have do your research, and step 2, have talking points prepared. Learn about your elected officials' voting records and statements on the issue you're discussing. Tip 3, make a clear ask. Are you asking for the legislator to vote for or against a bill, co-sponsor a measure, sign a pledge? Step 4, have materials prepared. Send them all along at least an hour ahead of the meeting so that they have time to circulate it amongst everyone who will be attending. And finally, step 5, follow up in a timely fashion with any requested materials and information. And then finally, you could also alert the media before or after your meeting. And one idea for you, take pictures still. I think this includes screenshots from your phone or computer if possible, because that's a photogenic opportunity to then share on social media. Next slide, please. All right, so before we take questions, I want to just take another minute to talk about how you can all engage with this upcoming election, whether get out the vote and voter education information. Next slide, please. Registering voters is typically best done through direct, personal, and targeted contact. That said, we're gonna have to get a little creative again these days. This could include messaging posted on social media, hosting live videos on your platforms, or directly engaging with people via phone, internet, etc. The first tip is to partner with coalition members. Tip 2, much like other digital events, is to set goals for yourself. 3, be prepared with links to your state's voter registration information and rules and know them. Tip 4, like I said, keep messaging personal and direct. If you have one, include an anecdote. Thankfully, DC has same-day registration, but in 2016, I hadn't done my own due diligence when I was busy with a bunch of get out the vote efforts, and I'd been caught in what we call a voter purge, and I had to register at my polling place. It helps to get personal because I bet a few of you are wondering right now, if your registration is up to date. And then finally, as always, follow up, please. Now that they're voters, they can join you as policy-specific advocates. Next slide, please. Finally, we have a voter education tactic. So candidate and issue forums are both really useful in educating your voters. Issue forums can include panel discussions or a teletown hall. And candidate forums, I want to stress that you should have prepared remarks for it. You can ask prepared questions, and then you can also ask audience submitted questions. Now, with these candidate formats, I want you to think back to some of the tips that you already learned tonight. What platforms do you find useful? What would work best for your audience? You got to balance all of that out when you're planning these. I've seen a few of these popping up on Facebook lately, which seems to be, at least for me, a solid digital platform epicenter for this type of event. Mostly I've seen a few candidate forums in my local campaigns in DC and have participated in a few issue forums in the past. So I'm going to pause here again, see if there are any questions or comments from the group.
So we do have a question. Can you elaborate on how you're addressing Equal Pay Day at a time when Congress and legislators are either on recess or occupied with other things?
So I'm happy to start that, and this is Kate, and then kick it to Robin. So that's a great question and something that we've had to be really sensitive about and to. So one of our major legislative priorities is passing the Paycheck Fairness Act, as well as pay equity bills at the state level. These are absolutely crucial and really have a big impact, and COVID-19 meshes well with this issue. That being said, legislators are, as the questioner asked, on recess or preoccupied. So we know that that's not the best advocacy tactic to try and focus on getting that legislation passed right now. So what we're doing is focusing on messaging and conversations. So we want to make sure that we can draw the line clearly between these different issues. So we can talk about how pay equity compounds over pay inequity rather compounds over a lifetime and really hurts people now who are relying on their nest eggs, if they have one that might be smaller, if they've been discriminated against, or have taken time away from the workforce to raise their kids. And all of these issues really influence each other. And so it's important that we keep at the forefront the policies that matter to us, but also that we have the conversation so that everybody understands how these tie together. Robin, do you want to talk any more about that?
Absolutely. I agree. I'm pushing a lot of person-to-person and peer conversations. I think this is a great time that you can talk with your family, friends, neighbors about this on a personal level and really build up the support and momentum that we need the second the doors reopen and we can get back to an improved version of business as usual. So I would suggest people start the conversations or issue forums. I think a letter to the editor would be really great to start conversations in your communities. And from there, you can bring it up with friends on, hey, did you see this? I wrote a letter to the editor. I want to talk about it. I just bring it up. It's topical and important.
Can we go to the next slide while we wait to see if any more questions come in? I just want to take a second to plug a few great resources that we have that emphasize what Robin was talking about. The first is our 2-Minute Activist platform. This is a great way to stay in the know on what's going on and be alerted when we believe that you need to take action on an important issue. You can sign up for that on AAUW's website. The second thing is our advocacy how-to guides. We have them on a number of different issues and they elaborate on a lot of what Robin was talking about tonight. And finally, I just want to plug Equity Network again. You can find out more information on our website. We'd love to have you as part of our community. It's a great crew tonight, and we'd like to keep this conversation going. And with that, we can skip ahead 2 slides. Are there any other questions before we start to wrap up tonight?
Yes. So what gender equity issue concerns you most as we see the COVID crisis unfold?
It's a great question. Just at top of mind, paid leave. I mean, people need to be supported right now, whether or if they still have a job but have child or parent responsibilities, caregiving responsibilities, they need to be able to take on those. If they don't have a job, they need unemployment benefits, but we really need to support people in whatever working or not working situation they're in right now. And that means extensive and compassionate paid leave. Thoughts from others?
Absolutely. In addition to the paid leave and workplace equity, I'm really concerned about access to healthcare, like across the board, but specifically with women and parents. This is a really scary time for a lot of people, and for all of us really, but that access to healthcare is then compounded and exacerbated more, especially the more you are in vulnerable positions.
Yeah, and Kate and Robin, this is Kim. All I would add to that is you just said the magic word, Robin, of compounding. And that's what terrifies me the most about this, is that we have all of these giant issues. It's plus, 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 plus. And for women, as we look at this, because women typically go in and out of the workforce for family, childcare, elder care, and other issues as well, we're already not saving as much money for retirement as our male counterparts. We tend to overwhelmingly invest more conservatively. And when we start seeing all of these different factors that Kate and Robin just laid out, it makes COVID-19 action around what we need to be doing to ensure people's equity and inclusion in the marketplace and their economic security all the more important. So echo, echo, echo. And if we add those all up, this is a doozy of opportunities for us for being strong advocates right now.
I'm seeing a few other things come through. Nikia, have you seen any?
Yes, so what is AAUW doing to help?
It's a great question. So we're doing a lot. We are, the most basic answer is that we are continuing to be the strong advocates and count on our members and supporters to do so as well, to push back and advocate for those who don't have as strong a voice right now. So what that means is that we are monitoring the legislation, we are weighing in on it, we are trying to make sure that it covers all people. We're engaging our advocates when and where we think that their voices can be most necessary. In addition to the provisions in the major bills in Congress right now, we're also monitoring what's going on in the states, and we're making sure that folks will still have their voting rights because it's really, really crucial that we not forget about all of our other important rights at a time like this in this crucial election year. And then beyond that, hopefully we're bringing a smile to some folks' face and we're offering some good professional development while everyone is homebound, both through this kind of programming, but also through our great online salary negotiation webinars, or trainings rather, where you can learn a new skill while you're home. And we hope that you'll be a part of our community to take advantage of all of these different resources.
Yeah, Kate ended with a word that I'm a big fan of, community. As the grassroots advocacy perspective here, I think that one thing that we're doing is keeping everyone connected. Since we're here, we're still working, we are determinedly pushing along, staying connected with all of our advocates and supporters and community members is really important.
Hey, Robin and Kate, we got another question about sample letters to the editors for Equal Pay Day and availability there. One of you want to take that, please?
Sure. We do have a template. It's not available online, but if you email either myself or Robin or our advocacy inbox, which is just advocacy@aauw.org, we'd be happy to share that with you and help provide edits or any other information that you need to get that up.
Yes, we will.
So we do have another question. The stimulus package is supposed to offer more to Macefield couples. Do you know where same-sex marriages will be recognized in this?
So unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that question. It's very important. And obviously, as I've said, we need to make sure that everyone is protected in this. So that will be something that we'll look into and make sure. I have not heard in sort of all of the chatter that I've been involved with, that same-sex marriages will not be recognized, but I do not have a 100% sure answer to that question.
So we have another one. Our reps are all supportive of our issues. Should we do more than say thanks to them?
I mean, I think you should say thanks to them for sure. That could be a great opportunity for you to engage with your representatives and build a connection that you don't have yet, if you don't have one. And that could then help you support other issues that they haven't fully gotten behind or just haven't gotten there yet. But I think that even if your representatives are supportive, not all of your community members necessarily are. So again, circling back to the holding conversations in this time would be really useful. And you have great support in your representative.
Gang, there was a question too that because I'm still a neophyte at Zoom, I accidentally answered without answering it on the app here, but it was a question about whether or not some of our programs like this and like our salary negotiation will also be put into other languages like Spanish and other languages. And the short answer is yes, with an exclamation point, comma, but we as a nonprofit do need financial and human capital resources to make sure it's not just a matter of translating programming into another language. It's also the contextual changes and cultural changes that need to be made for appropriate programming. And so we are looking into low wage, low skilled workers who those that are at the lowest socioeconomic level that are most impacted and need a lot of these programs and skills. But again, as a nonprofit, we are also seeking funding externally and from our supporters to be able to make sure that we can continue to offer and meet where the demand is and where the greatest need is right now.
One more. What is your elevator speech for Equal Pay Day?
Go for it, Kate. I want to hear you.
Well, I'm happy to provide mine, but I would also challenge everyone that this should be your homework, and you all should practice this yourselves. An elevator speech is a really important. The concept being, if you get trapped in an elevator with somebody and you have maybe 30 seconds to talk about your issue, to have it top of mind and ready to go. So I present that to all of you as your homework, whether it be on equal pay or whatever issue you find most important. For me, it's really about equality and making sure that it's not just women, but their families as well and the economy are all supported in a fair way. You can bring home a fair paycheck and that benefits your entire family and yourself. We know the statistics prove that there is deep discrimination in society. But I also think that most people and most employers feel that it's right to pay people equally. So we got a long way to go, but this is a very popular issue that we can make a lot of headway on. And I see another question about the other equal pay days in 2020. It's a great question. So next week, March 31st is Equal Pay Day, where we commemorate when on average all women catch up to what on average all men made in the year before. We've already commemorated Asian American Women's Equal Pay Day, which was on February 11th. And the others that are coming up are White Women's Equal Pay Day on April 9th, Mom's Equal Pay Day on June 4th, Black Women's Equal Pay Day on August 13th, Native Women's Equal Pay Day on October 1st, and Latinas Equal Pay Day on October 29th, which happens to be just a few days before the election.
We have a question from Shalom. How can we avoid that our people feel disempowered? So rather than feeling like they made the choice, so rather than feeling like they made the choice they don't feel like someone made it for them?
I can respond to that just in general. I feel like, especially given how, you know, how a lot of us are struggling with feeling empowered or lack thereof right now with COVID-19. I think everyone intentionally making choices for themselves will be really empowering, and doing something and seeing some kind of reaction to it will really help. So joining this webinar, asking the question to begin with, and then afterwards engaging with people, taking some of the steps that we have recommended to interact with your local communities and your policy issues, I think will really help. Because you're right, like right now, we don't get to make a lot of choices based off of the requirements for public health concerns. So there are still ways to do it digitally.
So what is AAUW's strategy with respect to the passage of the Equal Rights Amendment?
So we had such a big win with the ERA earlier this year when Virginia became the 38th state to ratify the ERA. So congratulations to anyone on the phone who might be from Virginia. And thank you to the hard work from Nevada and Illinois that laid the groundwork over the last couple of years to set up Virginia to be the final state that we need. And then shortly thereafter, the House passed a resolution to remove the deadline, which is necessary. Now that the states have ratified, we need Congress to act because there's an artificial deadline placed on ratification. So that's passed the House, which is really fabulous. Kim and I were able to be with many members of Congress to celebrate and commemorate that historic vote. So we're very proud of that work. Now it's looking to the Senate. So what that means is advocating hard for the Senate to pass a similar resolution. And realistically, that's going to be very difficult with our current Senate. So it is working hard now to encourage them to do so, but realistically looking to 2021 when there may be a new composition in the Senate, and doing education and laying the groundwork so that when the time is ripe, we'll be able to push it through and celebrate having women officially in the Constitution. All right, is that it, Nikki? Are you seeing anything else? It seems like the chatter's died down a bit right now.
Yeah, I think that kind of finishes up, but I really, the only other thing I wanted to say to both Robin and Kate is brava in doing this for the first time as AAUW, really delivering true virtual programming with multiple speakers. So feel like A+ team here. And I hope all of you got as much out of this as I did. I really want to add one of the things that AAUW, what we're so proud of is our grassroots advocacy. And we're hoping you'll all join us in this, and now joining us as grassroots advocates as we all work virtually. And that means you can be advocating right in your own township or municipality, in your state, and for us on all of our work on a federal level. And we really believe that this is a crucial time. We all are feeling the anxiety and the fear in this nation, both for the health scares as well as for the long tail of what the economy could do and is doing right now to tens of thousands of humans in this nation and around the globe. So please, please, please do join us. Kate and Robin have given you lots of great tools tonight. We are taping this, and there was a question about when this will be going up. It should go up in the next day or so, as with a direct link to a tape of this webinar, and we are planning on doing many more. Let me turn it over to Nikia.
Unmute myself. Okay. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this webinar. I really hope that everyone will leave here feeling a little empowered, feeling like we got something that we can take out into the world, even as we are isolating at home and keeping each other safe by staying indoors. just to let you all know that this session is recorded, so I will be following up with you all with the recorded session as well as the slides. Included with that will be a brief survey. I would appreciate if you all could take a few minutes to give us your thoughts on today's session. Let us know if it was helpful to you, and that will give us a better sense of how we can keep these kinds of sessions going, make sure that they are intentional and responsive to the kind of information that you all need to feel empowered and to feel like you can be better advocates for other folks. So again, thank you all so much for coming out. Please be safe, have a good night, and remember to please follow the best practices of the CDC guidelines to the very best of your ability.